Man, I bet this lecture lasts 15 minutes. I need to come up with examples. That's an issue. I guess I'm just not on Zoom anymore. Oh, there I am. Okay. Yeah. Dude, there's such a lag. Guys, if you're seeing this lag, you can hear me in the background. It's because I'm going from Zoom to Google Live or Zoom YouTube Live, and it's just got a huge lag to it. And I'm trying to get this dealt with. Hold on. Okay. So we're going to go over 5.7 because I can't be here on Thursday. So this is your lecture for 5.7. First off, remember the test is going to open today, I think actually at 9:30. So test 3 opens at 9:30. And then, it's due Sunday by midnight. It's like 11:59 p.m. Okay. Section 5.7 is really straightforward. It's just solving quadratic equations by factoring. Okay, solving quadratic equations by factoring. And then the thing is, at this point, we know how to factor. So the only new rule that we're going to introduce is let's see what the book titles is. Called something like zero factor property or something along those lines. Yeah, zero factor property. And it says, look, so the zero factor property states that if you have two factors that are being multiplied and they equal 0, that has to equal 0, then either one of those must equal 0. So it's A equals 0 and or B equals 0. Okay, that's a zero factor property. And let's look at a function, or not function, but an equation that's already factored. So let's say we had something like x plus 2 times x minus 6 equals 0. If I wanted to solve this, because we already have it factored, we've got the A really is right here and the B is right here. All we have to do is set each one of those equal to 0. And we'll see that you subtract 2, you get x equals -2, add the 6, and you get x equals +6. We have our two solutions for this equation. Now notice with these two solutions, actually notice there's two solutions. There's a pattern here that says if we have the number of factors we have is the number of solutions we're going to have. Okay, so we've got two factors, we have two solutions. If you wanted to check it, you could go in one at a time, and it's kind of neat. You'll see that we'll get equals 0 every time. So if I put in like x equals -2, just to check to make sure I'm right, you'd have -2 plus 2 times -2 minus 6. And we want to know, is that equal to 0? Well, you'd have 0 times, because -2 plus 2 is 0, times -8. Well, yeah, that's 0. Same thing with 6, because it makes that factor 0, right? 6 minus 6 is 0, times this would be a +8. So 0 times 8 would be 0. So this one works out as well. So they both work out. Okay, that's a basic example with the zero factor property. And you'll see the very first of your homework is just that example. So now let's look at another example. Let's say we've got a little polynomial. Now here's the rule to solve by factoring. It's on page 402, the steps. The first thing is you've got to get one side equal to 0. So let's look at one that doesn't have 0 on one side. So we've got 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. Actually, let's say equals a -5, okay? So we've got 2x squared plus 9x equals -5. The first step is we have to move that -5 over. So we have to add 5. So we get 2x squared plus 9x plus 5 equals 0. So that's the first step. We have to get one side equal to 0 so we can use the zero factor property. It's got to have 0 on one side of it, okay? Then we have to factor the non-zero side. That's what we've done the last two lectures, right? So we're going to factor this. I'm going to use that AC method. So 5 times 2, that's 10. Actually, oh, this is a horrible example. Hold on, pause, look, notice I can't multiply anything to get 10 that adds up to get positive 9, right? So I'm going to have to change this. Oh, man, this isn't factorable. So that's fine. Let me change this. I should have not made that negative. 2x squared plus 9x equals a positive 5. So let's start over here. And I'm going to do the same steps. I've got to make 0 on one side of the equation. 2x squared plus 9x minus 5 equals 0. Now, if you're wondering, hey, wait a minute, what do I do if this happens to me? Well, first off, this won't happen to you in the homework, okay? All of these are set up to factor. This is not factorable. We'd have to use another way of solving this that we're going to get to at the end of this semester, okay? So don't worry about this happening to you in the homework or the test. It's not going to happen, okay? They're set up nice like this one. So back to this question. Set one side equal to 0, move the 5 over. Now I'm going to do the AC method again. I get negative 10. Now with negative 10, I can get a positive 9. It's 10 times negative 1, right? I'm going to break apart the 9x. So I get 2x squared minus 1x plus 10x minus 5 equals 0. And then just do factor by grouping. So I'm going to set the parentheses because I've got the plus sign set. I can factor an x out. I'm left with 2x minus 1. Factor, if I want to match them, I got to factor a 5 out, and I get 2x minus 1 equals 0. Factor that. Oh, wait, it's a 2x minus 1, right? So factor the 2x minus 1 out, times x plus 5 equals 0. Boom. Now I've got my a and my b. So this part, factoring the non-zero side, is what you've been doing in the homework so far. The easy part, though, is now just setting each one of those. 2x minus 1 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0. So setting each one equal to 0 and solving, add the 1, you get 2x equals 1, divide the 2, you get x equals 1/2, subtract the 5, and you get x equals negative 5. So we have our two solutions for this equation. Now, if you wanted to check it, you could plug either one in to make sure that equality is true. Like, I bet I can do negative 5 quicker, so I'll do it kind of in our head. If I plug negative 5 into x squared, that would be a positive 25, times 2 is 50. Plus 9 times negative 5, that's a negative 45. So 50 minus 45 equals 5. This checks out. I'm going to assume I've got the 1/2 right as well. Okay, so that's a good example of how to solve equations by factoring. Now let's just do a few examples, okay? So let's say I had one that looked like this. Let's say I had x squared equals, let's say 49. So x squared equals 49. I'm going to move the 49 over because I've got to get one side equal to 0. And then I'm going to factor the non-zero side. So x minus 7, x plus 7, right? This is difference of squares, which we went over yesterday. So I'm going to set each one of those equal to 0. I get x equals 7, and I get x equals negative 7, right? Easy to check too. 7 squared is 49. Well, guess what? Negative 7 squared is also positive 49, okay? So difference of squares, remember we had a squared minus 7 squared. So this factors into, since it's, well, we went over it last time, the a squared minus b squared, right? So we know that factors correctly. Let's look at another one. Let's say we've got 4x squared plus 20x equals negative 25. So first thing I've got to do, I've got to get 0 on this side, so I have to move it over. So I get 4x squared plus 20x plus 25 equals 0. Got to solve this, or I'm going to factor this side with the AC method. So 4 times 25, I'm going to write this up here. This is 100, right? Thankfully, 100 I know can break down into 10 times 10, which gives me the 20. Okay, so I get 4x squared plus 10x plus 10x plus 25 equals 0. So you put parentheses around the first two and last two. Factor a 2x out, and I'm left with 2x plus 5. Factor a 5 out, and I'm left with 2x plus 5 equals 0. These match, so then I've got 2x plus 5 times 2x plus 5, right? So this is a perfect square. Now look, we really do have two solutions here, but they're repeated. Okay, so I've got 2x plus 5 equals 0. If you want to write 2x plus 5 equals 0 over here, you're more than welcome to. But this is going to be x equals negative 5 halves. Okay, and look, if you're struggling with up here stuff on how to factor, you need to go back to the 5.4 and the 5.5 lecture, okay? Because this goes over how to factor from here to here, okay? The solving part, the solving is really easy. Once you get it into two factors, you just set each factor equal to 0, right? Just set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Equal to 0 and then solve. Very, very, very straightforward. I'm gonna steal some from the book that look a little different. Like let's say this is actually, let's just steal some straight from here. This is number 24 in the homework on page 409. N cubed equals 16n. Okay. Well, the first thing I've got to do again is move the 16 over. So I get n cubed minus 16n equals 0 when I subtract it to the other side. And now I've got to factor this side completely. Now remember, to factor completely, the first thing you've got to do is factor out a GCF. And I see that, look, I've got both of these terms have an n. So n squared minus 16 equals 0, okay? And then if I look inside this parentheses, I notice this is a difference of squares, right? This is n squared, this is 4 squared. So this keeps going. N minus 4, n plus 4, right? That's how this factored. Now I've got 3 factors. Hey, it's not a coincidence that our polynomial up here was a 3rd degree, and we wound up with 3 factors, which gives us, so n equals 0, n equals 4, and n equals, not x, but n equals negative 4. It gives us 3 solutions. That's not a coincidence at all, okay? I saw that one, thought I would go over that one. It's an example in the book that looks kind of goofy. Okay, let's see here. Do one that just looks a little different, maybe. Well, I mean, this one starts off different, but it's not crazy. This is number 12. N times 2n minus 3 equals 2, okay? Now look, this is a 2. We've got to move it over, but we're not going to start with parentheses if I know we're going to have to factor it. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute this to get rid of the parentheses. And then I'm going to move the 2 over, so that makes that minus 2 on the other side, okay? So distributing the n gives us the 2n squared and the negative 3n. Moving the 2 over gives me the minus 2. Now I've got to factor this side, and I'm going to use, the AC method again, because that's what I like. So negative 4, this is going to be negative 4 times 1, right? That adds up to the negative 3. So we get 2n squared minus 4n plus 1n minus 2 equals 0. Put my parentheses around it. Factor a 2n out, and I'm left with 2n minus, nope, not 2n. This will be 1n minus 2. Hey, I don't want to factor anything out of here. So I'm going to factor a 1 out so it doesn't change. 1n minus 2. Factor the 1n minus 2. No, that's just n minus 2. And I'm left with 2n plus 1. And then I'm going to set each one of those equal to 0. So n equals 2. 2n plus 1 equals 0. Subtract the 1. Divide the 2. And I get n equals negative 1/2. All right, so boom, I've got my 2 solutions. So it started out weird, but then it went into something we know real quick, okay? So guys, that's all the types of homework questions I'm going to ask you to solve. For homework in 5.7, I want you to do 1 through 41. These are going to be odd. And then 45 through 45 through 59. These will be odd. Yeah, pretty straightforward. So that's the last concept. You know, we've gone over 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, and 5.7 now. If I was going to study for this test and kind of make a test for this, I would look at page 419 and I would do the questions from 5.4, which starts with number 51. So I would do 51 through 60. And then 63 through 76. Then 77 through, and you'll see these are breaking down. This is the stuff from 5.4. This is 5.5. 5.6, I would just do 77 through 84. And then in 5.7, I would do 95 through 106. So this is a really good review for the test. So if you can do that, that's a really good review. I mean, that's more the questions than the test would have, but it's just a really good review of overall the questions that'll be asked on this test 3, this third test. Okay, so guys, I know this isn't live, but I will see you all on Monday. The test will pop up at 9:30 in Blackboard, so you'll be good to go. If you have any questions, email me. I should be available. I'm going to be in a test all day on Friday from like 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. So it won't get out till 5 p.m. So I won't be able to reply to anything till later on Friday. I'll try to answer any emails over the weekend because I know I'm not going to be available on Friday. So I will see you guys then. Good luck on the test.